Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Red Valkyrie Presents. I am Shae the Red, and of course, shocking twist of events in the 11th hour. We actually have a cyborg Valkyrie with us. How are you doing, Cy?
So drugged.
So, cannot guarantee how long Cy will stay, cannot guarantee how talkative Cy will be, but Cy is here, damn it, because they are a professional. And
We'll go with that.
sure, we'll say that's why. We are here with the incredibly talented Mr. Illustrator Monk. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Yeah? A man of so few words. So before we get started, what you working on? What are we looking at?
So this is a logo
Very cool.
for the Witch's Warehouse. I'm working on some ancillary stuff for the campaign, so stuff for packaging and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I really like, you have such a good way of like doing your compositions and everything to make it really interesting, because that almost looks like an alehouse sign to me. You know, like if you were going to go and get like a beer at a pub or something. That's awesome. All right, so we're here because you have an absolutely stunning book called Eclectic Coven, and you actually have this on both Kickstarter and on Indiegogo. And so while the number that you see here is 1,000, your Kickstarter is over 4, isn't it? Over 4,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 4.5 now.
Oh, very nice. I don't know why I didn't think to bring it up, but it's because if there's a choice between Indiegogo and Kickstarter, I always go with Indiegogo because Kickstarter doesn't take my money fast enough. $45.95.
I'm still butthurt that you got number 1, Shae.
I'm very happy with myself on that. Number 1 on Indiegogo, so ha.
Number
Ha ha ha.
2 on Indiegogo.
Yeah, I've backed this. I think I've backed this twice now, just because I love your artwork, and obviously, you know this because we commissioned you to do artwork for us, and then I put it on every piece of merch that I could possibly find, like my giant throw that sits on my bed, and I get all giddy every time I see it. You make women very beautiful. I just want you to know that.
Thanks.
Thanks. Oh, you can't. I'm gonna force you to be more talkative at some point here. This is gonna happen. Okay, so tell us a little bit about why you decided to do Eclectic Coven. What was it that inspired you to do this?
So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for Inktober 2020. I was looking through some of the prompt lists, and I found a really old one that was a list of witches. So I decided to go with that. It seemed really interesting. I did switch up some of the list a little bit to suit my needs a little better, but that's where I got the idea, and that's where a lot of the initial 30 illustrations came from, is from that list.
That's awesome. And I love how different all of these witches are that you made, like this little Southern belle from the farm kind of the giant freaking radish.
Yeah.
It has like this massive radish.
Is that a radish? I thought it was a carrot.
It's a radish.
It's a very fat carrot. Fat and stubby carrot.
They make those.
So this is basically a collection of your Inktober pieces then?
That's what most of it is. I did fill it out with some of my older witch illustrations. I've done a few in the past for Halloween and stuff like that, and then I have added some newer ones as well to the list.
Awesome.
including a few that were the stretch goal pieces.
Yeah, I love your character Phoebe and the fact that you have her featured here, but then you included a little short with her at the end, didn't you?
Yeah, so there's going to be a little short 4-page comic story at the end, kind of introducing Phoebe and giving people kind of a taste for the full Phoebe book that's later this year.
I'm so excited for this. And I gotta say, I love your angles. You do this every time whenever you can. You always get such good angles so you can really highlight assets. And so she's like all down and like real intense in this race, but her butt is very prominent. It's fantastic. And yeah, so a little drag race where she wins the dude's pink slip to his car. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what sort of stretch goals did you have in this? Because you're winding down, you're to the very end of everything, so you're not really adding a whole lot more. But what stretch goals did you have initially?
So initially, I didn't have stretch goals because I had no idea what to expect. This was my first campaign. It basically said coming soon stretch goals, and then everyone kind of forced me to come up with ideas really fast. So here's what we have is I added 2 new illustrations on the first one. I also added 2 illustrations a little further down.
Nice.
And then there are posters in the middle and a sticker. And I decided to add those as digital rewards as well for people who can't back physical. So there'll be desktop wallpapers and phone wallpapers made of those posters and sticker designs.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then last, we just unlocked the Perfect Bound book. And I haven't decided yet what we're going to do at 6,000. And it's you guys are going to force me to come up with something because we're already halfway there.
Yeah, you're more than halfway there. You've got $45.95 on Kickstarter, and then your Indiegogo is at 1,030. So you're less than 400 away from that. Just saying, less than 400. I'm gonna pitch what I always pitch. Patches are amazing, and I know a place where you can go. But the thing is you have so many cool little, like the little artwork that you did for rewards, for some of the preview page and everything like that. Like you have a really cool style, and any of that would look awesome as a patch as well. Like this strange sorcery, I love.
The only issue with patches is they're cost prohibitive.
They can be. It depends on how many you have to get and whatnot. I think that we normally see the most expensive ones I've seen for regular size patches like $3 a patch. So you definitely do have to hit a certain level, and that might actually be better for your Phoebe campaign when you're coming out with her story, because there's a lot more potential there to get backers.
Yeah, I think it kind of dawned on me that I kneecapped myself a little by doing the highest tier at $15.
Yeah.
Actually, there's only 2 tiers, the $5 digital and the $15 physical, so people are kind of clamoring for extra stuff.
Yeah. Well, and so this is actually a good way to kind of do this though, because you're testing the waters. You're seeing how Kickstarter and Indiegogo work. You're seeing where you might have a bigger audience if you want to run another campaign simultaneously, which wouldn't be a bad thing. But you're also realizing that if you don't have that level for people to dump money in, then you're going to have a hard time growing the campaign, because people don't have anywhere to put money, and they don't want 300 copies of the same book. They want other things. So when you go and do this for your Phoebe tome, with her story and everything, original art, especially pages out of the books, usually sell very, very well. As well as I know people would love sketch cards from you or something along those lines where they feel like they can kind of get some of your artwork but at a little bit of a discounted price, and you can always limit those. So you're not doing 500 sketch cards. You can limit it to 10 and only have to do 10 of them. But those would be some things that I would kind of consider when it comes to doing your Phoebe one.
Yeah, definitely. And I have been seriously thinking about doing a patch tier where you get the book and a patch.
Yeah,
A little
absolutely.
bit more. Maybe do the patch from the rocker patch from Phoebe's jacket.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a lot of great like iconography on her little vest jacket and her, tattoos and everything. So there's a lot of different stuff that you could pull from pretty easily. But I definitely would love like a patch off of one of her like vests or something. I think that that'd be really cool. Okay, so this everything is in black and white for this book, right?
Yeah, everything is in black and white. This book and actually Phoebe book will also be in black and white.
Okay.
I'm just not fast enough at coloring,
Yeah.
and I actually like the way black and white looks a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. Um yeah, so you have the chat is saying we have Rick Saylor saying some prints would be really cool. That's obviously something that a lot of people love. Enamel pins, those also usually do really well, and you can get those for pretty inexpensive as well. I'll get you a couple of places that I've seen for enamel pins for patches for things like that. So you can check them out and decide if you want to include them in your next campaign. Yeah, and see Tonic Mole says black and white is where it's at. We actually had William C says that he would love to have a Lilith pinup done by you. Of course, paid, but maybe you and William need to meet up if your commissions are open or the next time they are.
Yeah, I did take a few commissions just for the end of the campaign, but that booked up really quickly. So the next opportunity is going to be at the end of Phoebe book one in the winter, probably.
Awesome. Yeah, so you're looking for a winter launch for Phoebe's first book then.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
It's
I work full
little bit more
time,
work.
and I'm doing this on the side, so it's
Yeah, it's a tad bit more work than maybe originally thought. You're like, no, it'll be fine. I can totally do this. So you start working, you're like, wow, this is a lot of shit. Like, so since there isn't a ton of tiers, and by not a ton, I mean there's literally two. If you haven't already gotten in on this, you can for $5 you can go digital. For 15, you can go physical. Guys in the chat, I would love for you guys to not only post whatever questions you might have for Mr. Monk, but if you have any things that you would particularly like to see when he does the Phoebe campaign, throw them out there too, because I want to try and make sure that we get Phoebe's campaign off to a great start. I got lucky enough to get to read a preliminary run at what her story is going to be, and I'm super excited about it. Just this pinup that you have right here of her, that basically sums her up. This is basically what she's like. She's a little bit crazy, very mischievous, definitely punk, and gorgeous. And it's so far it was a very, very fun read for sure. Why don't you give us just a little tiny tidbit into what Phoebe's story is going to be for that campaign, and so people can kind of get excited about it and start to think of what sort of things they'd like to see.
Like a rundown of
like a brief synopsis
story. Okay, so Phoebe is an orphan. She's the only orphan in town. She's basically gets made fun of a lot when she was a kid. So she kind of learned to toughen up and learned how to fight. So
Mm-hmm.
now that's something that she does really well. She's a fighter, and she kind of doesn't know that she has a witch history in her family until the start of the book. So this is kind of her learning that her mother was a witch, and that she kind of stumbling through some magic.
Okay. William C has a question for you. He says, "How is the Eclectic Coven book going to be formatted? Are you doing it one witch per page, regular comic size, zine size, shiny matte? Where are you going with all of this?"
So it's going to be comic sized. It will be mostly one witch per page, but I may double up some. We'll see how they all fit. It's going to be a soft touch cover,
Ooh.
130-pound weight, 70-pound weight on the pages throughout, and the cover will be color. The rest will be black and white.
Oh, that's awesome. And is the covers going to be this witch artwork that you have up at the top, right?
Yes, so that's the front cover.
Fantastic.
I've revealed some of the artwork for the back cover, but not the full back cover.
Okay.
It's on Twitter if you want to look. You can see I have a bunch of little illustrations. Some of those are going on the back cover. Some are going to be the end paper. And some are going to be on the title page. So, yeah, a lot of illustrations.
Just been working and working your little heart out on witch after witch after witch, huh? Past Master Dan is very intrigued by Phoebe's monkey. Trying for a double entendre there. I don't feel like it's sticking quite like you hope it would, but you know, it's a good effort. By the way, what's Phoebe's monkey's name again?
His name is Madge.
That's right.
Or she calls him Madge. His name is Majik.
Right. And he's also new to the whole witch familiar game, if I am not mistaken.
Yes. So he is Phoebe's familiar, and he doesn't actually get summoned for the first time until the end of issue 1. So we won't learn very much about him until issue 2.
Yeah, I was actually really bummed when I when I read the preview, and I was like, we get the cute capuchin and then nothing. I was like, no, what is book 2? Holy shit. This is going to be really, really fun. And I mean, if anyone is curious about the art quality, it's right here. Like, Illustrator Monk does amazing work. And I know that I'm really excited for this. And past Master Den has already pissed at me about asking about patches. Look, you knew it was going to happen. I don't know why you come here and expect something else. Because it's always about patches. Okay, so you were just of such few words, sir. This makes this difficult because I refuse to end this before 30 minutes. I refuse to, and I will not be beaten by you. I'm gonna figure this out. Is there anything else? Huh? What?
You want to know? What else do you want to know?
I want to know all of the things. How long have you been doing art?
Since I could hold a pencil, so 1
Wow.
or 2 basically.
Okay. And are you self-taught, or did you like go to school for it?
I did get a scholarship for fine art once I graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the advanced placement art through high school. My mom did get me lessons from neighbors, stuff like local people, local artists and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, it's mostly self-taught
Oh, wow.
from books. If it's not obvious, I have a passion for old school illustrations, turn of the century type stuff, deco type stuff, and Art Nouveau type stuff as well. Some of the early marketing type stuff has a heavy influence,
Mm-hmm.
at least on my lettering and design stuff. As far as the illustration, it's a lot of comic book influence, as from Western and Eastern.
Okay.
Especially stuff like 8 Ball, Battle Angel Alita, Love and Rockets, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the black and white influence as well.
Okay. Very cool. I'm terrible at art, especially in comparison. But I also have not even remotely dedicated as much time as you obviously have in honing your skills. So when you're thinking about your next campaign, because you've got, you kind of learned a bit here when it came to tiers and stuff. Aside from like original art and things like that, is there any other aspects, like other little things that you're thinking you might want to try and include?
Aside from the patches, there's been some interest in maybe doing an Eclectic Coven Part 2.
Ooh.
So I don't know about that. There is October coming up soonish. So
That is true.
maybe,
Well, and go ahead.
maybe there will be some more witches in the future. I don't know, but I kind of want to dedicate myself to getting Phoebe out this year.
Yeah, I definitely, after reading it, I'm gonna be a little bit righty if there isn't a Phoebe comic this year. I'm not gonna lie, because it's really good. It's really, really good. Tonic Mole says, ask Monk about life as the Bishop of Booty. Nothing?
I thought my art kind of explained that. Is there?
He wants to know what it's like being the Bishop of Booty.
Oh, it's good. It's you know.
You were a quiet kid growing up, weren't you?
Yeah. Basically, I spent all my time drawing, so that's where all the time went.
Gotcha. It's okay. You know what? We'll come up with the game plan, and we'll help if you want. If you want, we will help launch you when you do the Phoebe campaign, and we'll try to get people on who can help hype it alongside you, so it's not just you and me in a really quiet room. Look at, you have Dennis saying that you're very succinct. It's very true. Very true. You got a lot of people who are really excited for what you've got coming up. Rose says, I can't wait to say Phoebe. Another Eclectic Coven would be cool, but any themed collection of art would be cool to see, which I agree with. Personally, I just love your art. So anything that you had that were themed, if you put it all together in an art book, I would totally grab that. And there you go. William C says, make sure that you have something like Eclectic Coven or an ash can to be a second tier when you launch Phoebe. If you have an ash can or something, I'll buy it. So something to consider as, something that you could be adding into for a future campaign. Definitely an ash can or more art or anything like that. And depending on how many of these you're going to print up, if you end up printing up enough to have like an actual inventory, I would recommend leaving your Indiegogo up in demand. So as people get their art books and they start showing them off and their friends start seeing them, when interest peaks and people want to get their own and missed out, they can go to Indiegogo and they can still get them. But that requires you to at least have enough overage to, warrant keeping it open for a bit.
Hey, the more I order, the cheaper it gets.
That's very true. Tonic Mole says, I spend all my time talking, which is why Monk draws my covers. I'm not gonna lie. Your covers are what got me to first start backing Tonic Mole, because your covers were beautiful, and I was like, I will back this. And then I started checking out the story and was like, I actually like the story. Like, thank goodness. So now I'll back it and have a good story. Death Metal Hero.
Some good stuff.
He's crazy, but we love him. It's okay. The Lillian Wepawet one was interesting. It's a very interesting storyline. Death Metal Hero wants to know, hey Monk, do you want to come on my channel and do a new book? Who dis? Maybe get the word out a little more.
Sure. I'm not familiar with any of the promotional channels. Just putting that out there, but.
Well, Death Metal Hero is a real good dude with a real big blue mohawk. And I will make sure to get you two in touch, just if for whatever reason he can't reach out to you. I don't know if your DMs are open or not, but if they're, for whatever reason you have issues, just let me know and I'll hook the two of you up. Get over it, says Shae has a list. I have many lists. I have so many lists at this point. You guys have no idea. Yeah, and again, an Ash Cannon art book about the campaign, something like that would be awesome. So, things to consider.
Yeah. It's all an issue of time.
You know what else would actually be really, really cool to see? If you, assuming that you have the time to have one or two colored Phoebe pieces, get with Phoenix Animation and get a couple of metal prints that you can offer up for sale. Because that gorgeous art mixed with, your colors on a metallic background to really make them pop. Like you do so well with the eyes and the sheen on eyes and lips and all that kind of stuff. If you had a really cool picture of Phoebe that you had colored up and you got with Phoenix Animation to do metal prints, he does really pretty good rates for people that are within the CG indie comic community. And I can almost guarantee you people are going to buy those for sure, because they're going to already love your art, but being able to have your art on something that's sturdy, something that's unique, to put up on their wall, I think that a lot of people would really like that.
Cool. I'll check it out.
All right, guys. Well, we knew that this was going to be a slightly shorter show, considering there are 2 tiers and Mr. Monk only has 6 days left. But I think that we're probably going to have to wrap. So he's got a little less than a week, and we have less than $400 to force the man to come up with a new stretch goal at 6K. I'm just saying. You all have your marching orders at this point. You know that you want this book. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you got friends that like this is one of the most inexpensive books that I've seen out there. Back a bunch of times and start giving them out as gifts. I know a bunch of friends that would die to get some of these absolutely gorgeous witches in their hands. So something to consider for anyone out there who hasn't backed, or if you've already backed and you don't really know what you want to do when it comes time for next year, holiday season, whatever. This would be something to consider. So it says here that you're looking at having it fulfill in June. Is that still looking like a solid date, or is it?
I gave myself a lot of extra time just because it's my first campaign.
Mm-hmm.
It is the digital copy is going to go out pretty much as soon as the campaign ends. So
Awesome.
people who backed at the digital tier will be getting it pretty much right away.
Okay.
I'm just finalizing some stuff for that, and then I'll send it to print basically at that point as well. So
Awesome.
but I'm shipping it myself, so that might take a little time. That's like 300 books or so to mail out.
Yes, and you've now learned a very valuable lesson. Price yourself a little higher, hun. 'Cause while having 300 books to mail out is great, it's better if you have a little bit more of a nest egg from all of that, because you are definitely your art is worth that, and your story for Phoebe is fantastic. So when it comes to Phoebe's storyline and everything, you and I'm sure will continue to talk about it. But when it comes to however many pages it's going to be and all of that, we'll make sure that you got yourself priced at a competitive but fair to you rate. And then, I don't know, find some friends, because you're going to be fulfilling a lot of those books as well. But I really do want to thank you for coming on, and I apologize that Cy had to dip out. That tooth pain is just not being nice today. But thank you so much for hanging out with us, and I love that you've just been sitting here working the whole time. Like, look at that. Look at how pretty. Gosh, that's so annoying. I'm definitely not this talented. We do have a last minute question from Amanda B. She says, "Are you signing all copies?"
I'm signing the early bird backers. So the people who backed the early bird special got the signed edition. So that will be limited to, how many was it? 60?
Yeah, you had 30
platform?
on each. 30 on each platform. Those went fast too. I don't even Shae jelly. Shae, you can learn a lot of that. I understand, but he just does it so effortlessly, or so it would seem. I will eventually attempt to do something like that. Death Metal Hero says hand-done typography too. Very interested in it. Rose says you could offer signatures as an add-on. That might be something to consider for your Phoebe campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the more time I spend signing, the less time I spend making pages.
That is a good point. Well, I think for this campaign, I think you did it right. When it comes to fulfilling for Phoebe, you could probably change stuff up just a little bit, to, really kind of get a lot of that fanfare and a lot of the excitement and enticement for them to back, but without totally killing you by how you're going to sign like 500 copies of a book now. Because that takes time. People don't think about it, but signing your name that many times takes a lot of time. But I did want to thank you so much, Monk, for coming and hanging out with us. And thank you, everybody in the chat, for showing up. Please, please share out this campaign. It's got less than a week left. I really want to force Monk to have to come up with a creative solution for that 6K stretch goal, because I'm evil and mean, and I think it'd be hilariously awesome for you to get successful and then be like, curses, I have to come up with something now. So yes, please go share it out, and we will see all of you absolutely beautiful people a little later today. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.